Tune in to Let Me Book the Territory. It's a new wrestling podcast where Smart Marks, A-Dub, E-Ray, B.A., and J-Mo review the week's top stories and storylines in wrestling and attempt to book out the championship feuds and storylines better than anyone else. New episodes are available every Friday wherever you get your podcasts. Again, guys, it's called Let Me Book the Territory.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me. Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody, guys and girls, welcome back to another edition of the SmackDown Review right here on the WWE Podcast. As always, I am one of the hosts of this show, Michael Ritter. You can find me on Twitter at Michael5Ritter or on Instagram at MichaelRitter5. Also, one of the hosts of the Football Function Podcast. Available on all of your podcasting platforms, including the one that you're listening to this show on. Also available on Patreon. If you prefer an ad-free experience, joining me on today's episode, a very special episode here on the SmackDown Review. This is actually my 100th episode since I've been doing this. Just a little bit of a milestone, obviously. We're not going to, have a cake or pop champagne or anything like that, but it's definitely a milestone here. But joining me on this very special episode, John Carrasco. You can find him on Twitter at Big Speaker. That's BIGG_speaker. John, how you doing? I know you played some softball, so we got to watch SmackDown a little bit different than what we normally do tonight, but it's a little bit fresh on our minds. You're probably a little bit sore, though, but other than all that, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, had a good work, I guess you could say week's worth of work,
Yes,
so, I mean,
good work week.
Kind of flew by and everything like that. And like you said, I did get to enjoy a little bit of softball before we started recording and everything like that. So, definitely wanted to get out there, stretch myself a little bit for tomorrow and everything like that, and the softball tournament that I got going on. But yeah, man, it was a good show. I mean, kind of excited about some of the things that happened and everything like that, and ready to break it down.
Yeah, I broke this news on my Football Function show, but this week I actually started going back to the gym. You know that. So I'm pretty sore too. Not as bad as what I feel like I should be or what I expected to be, but I'm definitely feeling it right now as we're sitting here on Friday night recording it. But anyways, we can go ahead and get into this, talking about the SmackDown that aired on September 16th, 2022 from Anaheim, California. And this one opened a little bit different than I was expecting, I guess. Mm-hmm. I was expecting, I don't know.
Not this. Let me say that.
Not this person. Maybe this specific storyline, I guess. But maybe not this person. But let's go ahead and dive in here. Logan Paul opens the show. He comes out wearing a fresh white tee. Got to give him credit where it's due. Look fly. He talks about the interview he had with Roman Reigns on the Impulsive podcast. Isn't that what it's called? Mm-hmm. I believe so. All right. And he also mentions that he set up a press conference tomorrow in Las Vegas. Of course, Paul Heyman eventually comes out with the entire bloodline minus Roman Reigns. So you got the tag team champions, the Usos, Solo Sikoa, and the honorary Us, Sami Zayn. They all join Paul Heyman, and Paul comes out. He butters up Logan Paul. He compliments him for his accomplishments and his resume, but he does assure him that he shouldn't be picking a fight with Roman Reigns. It's one thing to pick a fight with Money Mayweather, in his words, and it's a completely different ballgame to try to fight the tribal chief. I mean, he's just basically putting over Roman Reigns and telling Logan Paul, you're going to bite off more than what you can chew in this situation, more than what you can chew. And you might not go the distance like you were able to do with Floyd Money Mayweather, because just one move in particular that Floyd wasn't able to do, Paul didn't say this, just kind of just popped in my head, is the guillotine. Just a submission move, getting on the ground. Roman Reigns being able to actually use the weight advantage that he has there and the size advantage. I think that he would be able to really have his way with Logan. But that's just kind of completely off topic here. Back to the actual segment. Logan Paul actually does talk about how he understands that he would be an underdog against Roman Reigns, but he does ask the question, what if? What if he lands that lucky shot, that puncher's chance, that they give everybody? What if he lands it? And Paul Heyman basically hears enough. He tries to call Solo into the ring to basically handle his light work, but Sami Zayn actually intervenes, tries to be the voice of reason, and he actually insists to Paul Heyman that maybe he's not the guy that should be talking to Logan Paul. So Paul Heyman obviously just throws the microphone, says, all right, you want to do it? Go right ahead. He exits the ring. Sami Zayn tries to calm things down, but before he was able to do that, Logan Paul actually drops him with one punch and then evades the rest of the bloodline who charged the ring. What were your thoughts on this opening segment? Pretty long, by the way.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was definitely a lengthy thing, but this whole Logan Paul thing, man, I'm not for it. I mean, of course he has. I wouldn't even say there's any credibility behind his boxing and stuff like that. In my opinion, I just don't think that, he really got into the ring with Floyd Mayweather and actually went round for round, hand for hand with that. So I kind of feel like it was kind of like a botched thing and everything like that. So I wouldn't want to credit that to Logan or anything like that. I definitely want to kind of bury his name a little bit, I guess you could say, in my words, I guess you could say. But, man, I'm not ready to see this. I don't want to see it fulfill to its belief, I guess you could say.
Crown Jewel.
Yeah,
it's just a rumor.
Yeah. But I definitely hope, Roman kind of, just blows off this interview that he got kind of set up for tomorrow and everything like that, because I think it's just a waste of time. I
mean, later in the show, they talk about Roman Reigns showing up next week, so that basically tells you something's going to happen tomorrow, some big stuff, and Roman Reigns is going to have to comment on it. And by tomorrow, I mean probably today when you're listening to this podcast, likely on Saturday. But anyways, that's whenever the press conference is set up. So expect some fireworks, expect Logan Paul to do exactly what he threatened to do, which is challenge Roman Reigns for the championship match, likely going to happen at Crown Jewel. If you think that Roman Reigns is going to lose any of his championships, I mean, he won't even lose a match to Logan Paul. And if you think that's going to happen at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia on a Thursday, probably, whenever the hell they have these, 11 a.m., it ain't happening, Jack. I'm sorry. Don't get your hopes up. Don't put any money on that. If you see, maybe a nice little line, which I'm sure somewhere, there's all types of gambling apps that likely have WWE props. I wouldn't put any money on Logan Paul having a realistic opportunity to get this championship. I mean, it'll be cool for him to get the rub, to get the exposure. He's already had a WrestleMania moment, now getting a chance to fight for the main title, which is what I'm just assuming is going to happen. Who else? I mean, he came to the ring. I mean, it was the opening of the show. He's already, in terms of the mainstream media, getting Roman Reigns' name out there. I'm just connecting dots here. I wouldn't book this, but I'm just saying, it's pretty evident what's going to happen. Drew McIntyre clearly tied up with Karrion Kross. So those two, who you could both look at as formidable opponents to Roman Reigns, are occupied right now. Who else are they going to have Roman Reigns kind of have a little bit of a feud with? He's beaten everybody else, nobody else. Would it make sense, I guess? This is something that happened, quote unquote, organically via that podcast. So I guess they're kind of just going to run with it and allow Logan Paul to basically just get Roman Reigns through this next pay-per-view, and then bam, we're cooking with, Survivor Series season where there's not a top champion on the other brand. So what are they going to do? Typically, they go Raw versus SmackDown. They booked himself into a corner here, which might ultimately allow Roman Reigns to take that pay-per-view off. Because, I mean, it just really depends if he's in some type of grudge match or some type of feud where the championship can be defended there. But I just don't see Roman Reigns defending it at every single pay-per-view. And the fact that he already defended it at Clash at the Castle, now defending it likely at Crown Jewel, which is just putting the pieces together. We're talking about hypothetically here, Logan Paul. I just think it kind of makes sense as another guy for Roman Reigns to squash, for him to smash in his terms, and just add their name to the list and move on closer to the inevitable opponent, which is what we expect, The Rock. Somewhere down the line, don't know what the stipulation is going to be, what's going to be up for grabs. That's all to be determined. Might not even happen. But that's just kind of where our expectations lie. We're swinging for the fences here, to use a softball term. We don't really have our sights set on Logan Paul, so that's why this feud kind of came out of left field for me. But it is what it is. It's here. It's happening. We're going to break it down, and we're going to analyze it. And I agree. I don't think Logan really has much of a shot here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't think probably I don't know, 99-1, I guess you could say. Maybe give him that little
puncher's
little,
chance.
Yeah, that
Or
little.
chance. Sorry, I better correct myself there. But anyways, well, go ahead.
Oh, but anyways, man, I just don't think, man, this is. I mean, I just feel like it's just a fill the void, like you were saying, just for this pay-per-view or PLE. Sorry about that, but yeah, I just don't see or feel there's any belief behind this match going forward.
Yeah, definitely. But as Logan Paul leaves, almost immediately, like there really wasn't a chance for him to get like ambushed before Ricochet's music hit, and that's what led us to the following match, which is Ricochet versus Sami Zayn. The Bloodline and Logan Paul were both at ringside, basically just observing this match. It was, it was what you would expect in terms of like in-ring bell-to-bell between Sami Zayn and Ricochet. You expect that to be a damn good match. I mean, you could sit there and watch that for like, I don't even know how long it went on, probably like 10 to 11 minutes before, stuff started to kind of hit the fan. Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, for whatever reason, kind of come face-to-face. That ultimately distracts Sami Zayn, which leads to Ricochet hitting a shooting star press and picking up the win here, beating Sami Zayn. So it's crazy that Sami Zayn's taking losses like this, yet in the same show later on in the night gets referred to as the quote-unquote MVP of the Bloodline right now. So I don't really know, I guess I don't know where Michael Cole was going with that, or if it might have been Corey Graves who said that. I did hear it, and it kind of jumped out, and I agreed with it. But as I'm going over my notes and realizing that Sami Zayn did lose this match, it's kind of strange that I guess they chose that phrasing, but I do understand what they mean, because in terms of like trying to be the voice of reason earlier, what he does a little bit later on in the night, he does definitely do a lot for the Bloodline. So I could see why he would be MVP. No MVP is perfect, and I guess that's where these losses kind of factor in. But the fact that it was him and Jey Uso still kind of butting heads is what led to the loss. That tells me they want that to be fresh on our minds. Mm-hmm. They want that to be in the forefront of what we're thinking about, which is the incoherence between a couple of the Bloodline members, them being Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. But as far as the match itself goes, this entire segment basically getting, putting a bow on it here with this match. What'd you think about it?
Well, on this, man, I kind of feel like, just referring back to how you were kind of saying that Corey Graves reference, I want to kind of say that Sammy's getting that praise, man, just because he's the one that's actually taking those bumps and stuff like that for the Bloodline whenever they come into like interactions with any of the other superstars and stuff like that. So I can kind of see where, that's a benefit. He's out there, he's actually taking all these hits for the Bloodline instead of them having to actually take the bump and go into like a match or something like that. But then again, man, I just feel like they're kind of, what would you say, like throwing them under the bus in a way with like these losses. I feel like Sami Zayn, he's a better competitor than, well, I wouldn't say Ricochet, but he
is.
Okay, let's take that back.
Ricochet can do more flips. He's more of an athlete and all that stuff, but from bell to bell, I think Sami Zayn's more of a storyteller in the ring in terms of like ring psychology. There's things that Sami Zayn does that you can't teach, I guess. Like you either have it or you don't. Like obviously, like athleticism, you can't. Like Sami Zayn could try a million times. He may never be able to do a shooting star press. A lot of people can't. But I feel like what Sami Zayn is good at is a little bit more valuable and it's more quality than what Ricochet is. But you weren't even going there. I know what you were trying to say.
Yeah. But still, I kind of feel like it's all kind of just tying into what we need to see. Even though like you said, we're still getting like the bumping heads on the side of the ring that ultimately led to the loss and everything like that. But then it's those little nuggets that they're just leaving for us to keep like staying in tune with this, I guess you could say. So, I mean, I can't really be mad at it. I mean, I'm interested in like what Sammy has to do with this in the long run, so we'll definitely catch up a little bit on what, happens with Solo and stuff at the end of this match. But yeah, it's kind of crazy where it's leading to.
Up next, we get a backstage segment with Karrion Kross with Scarlett, and he basically just makes his mission statement and making it very clear that he is going after Drew McIntyre. Very clear, that's what it is. He calls himself the quote-unquote the people's executioner. I saw that he mentioned that, and I don't know if that's going to be something that sticks, if they're going to try to actually be what he is referred to as, but that's just, I guess that's what I wrote down here from this backstage segment here. You got anything to add to that before we move on?
Well, I mean, I can't really say that I have anything to add to it, but I definitely feel like the way like the interactions are going between them. I know it's kind of like not face to face, but still, I mean, the way that they talk to each other, I guess you could say, is actually really interesting. So, I mean, it's keeping me on my toes.
Another thing that I know keeps you on your toes.
Don't even.
Max Dupree and Maxine Dupree.
Maxine.
Maximum Male Models. They come out and they're presenting the Back to School collection. Now, this is something as a kid you never want to hear. You know, you like you go to Walmart and you see Back to School and it's like the last week of July or something and you're just like, oh man, it's that time. And some kids probably disagree. You know, some kids might actually love school. You know, I actually do know for a fact that there are kids out there that really do enjoy school. But me personally, summer vacation, it was one of my favorite things. And just seeing this as Back to School collection just made me I don't know, I guess it just brought back some unfavorable memories of, you know, summer vacation coming to an end and having to go back to school. But anyways, the train that would hit me as a kid, which was the first day of school, was nothing compared to the train that hit Mansois and Massey, which was Braun Strowman.
Strowman Express.
He came behind him, completely took them out. He, you know, ended up beating the hell out of him for a little bit. And then here comes who? Chad Gable. His music hits. And he walks out. I'm thinking, holy crap. The cantaloupe's on this guy. Coming out here to, you know, challenge Braun Strowman. But it appears that he was only trying to cause a distraction because Otis comes up from behind. And he attacks Braun. And, I mean, to be completely honest, he gets a few good shots in. I mean, he has a little bit of offense on him. And just being, let me see where I am here in my notes exactly. Chad Gable comes out, distract Braun Strowman enough for Otis to come out and attack him from behind. But Strowman actually no-sells the world's strongest slam. That Otis hit on him, Braun Strowman just literally does the Undertaker, just sits right up. Wasn't really a fan of that, especially if you're trying to put Otis over as somebody who, you know, is a big guy, and no matter who you are, if he does the world's strongest slam to you, you should feel it, you know. So Braun Strowman doing that already, I'm like, come on, man. Like, not a huge fan of it, but I imagine that's what he was instructed to do to make himself seem like he is the quote-unquote monster of all monsters. I noticed they tweaked that. He's not the monster among men anymore. He is the monster of all monsters. That's a tongue twister right there, but I'm glad I got it out. But anyways, what are your thoughts on the whole, I mean, the back-to-school stuff really wasn't even relative to this. It was pretty much irrelevant. It was only just to feature Maxine, probably, just to get her on TV and, you know, appeal to probably a huge chunk of the audience who love seeing her every week.
The guilty pleasures.
And then, obviously, it was to further show you what Braun Strowman is capable of, and likely going to lead to a handicap match between the Alpha Academy against Braun Strowman. But yeah, what do you got on this?
Well, for the beginning of this, you know, the Maximum Male Models thing, I'm so happy that it was actually taken out like snap of a finger, I guess you could say, you know. Like, it seemed like we were mostly focused on like the promo that Max was giving us, but I'm glad Braun Strowman came in, busted that thing down. But Otis, he surprised me, man. He stepped up, you know, he took this big guy down and didn't back down, I guess you could say, you know. So I'm kind of interested for this match next week. You know, I know it was announced a little later in the show, but I'm ready to see this.
So it is one-on-one, Otis and Braun? Okay.
It is.
I imagine them two have some history. They've both been at the company for a while. I mean, I know Braun was gone for a little bit, but Otis has been around for a few years now, so I'm sure that their paths have crossed at some point. But continuing on here, Damage Control, one of the hottest things, literally and figuratively, going on right now in WWE. I noticed a little bit of a new song. I don't know for sure if that had been there on Raw. And this is just the first time I noticed it. Definitely possible. But
It was.
So it was on Raw? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of this song. And like I told you whenever it came out, I don't want to to seem negative on this group. But just being objective, you know? Not a huge fan of the theme song. Like, it's like a little bit of a tweak to Bayley's song, right? Like, it's her song at first, and then it, talks about damage control. Like, we run the cage, we're on the stage, something like that. I mean, it's pretty much some Kids Bop BS is what I took from it. But anyways, let's see.
It kind of has a little bit of Io Sky's.
Oh, dude, Io Sky has a very sick theme song.
She does. But I feel like it kind of like
But
played
man,
into
the lights, like a little bit too much, man. A little too much. You're causing somebody to have a stroke or something in the freaking audience. But anyways,
Oh man.
Raquel Rodriguez comes out furious because of Aaliyah's injury and what Damage Control has done to them over the past couple of weeks. But we get the Bayley versus Raquel match after commercial break. Raquel does defy the number disadvantage that she has for a little while there. Fighting off Io, fighting off Dakota Kai, and still managing to dominate Bayley inside the ring. But eventually Damage Control does become just a little bit too much, and the interference does cause Bayley to steal the win here after Io kind of, scrapes the eyes, and Bayley takes advantage of it. And, like I said, Bayley gets the win. Damage Control starts to put a beating on Raquel after the match, just typically what they've done since they've made their return. But Shotzi Blackheart runs out. She comes to the rescue. I really didn't expect this. Last time I saw her, she was like that heel, getting locked in the locker room or whatever it was. It's been a while since we've seen Shotzi do anything meaningful. So it did feel good to have her come out, and show very clearly that she's a babyface right now. So what were your thoughts on the Damage Control segment, which led to the Bayley versus Raquel match, and then Shotzi coming out?
Well, on this, man, I was definitely happy for. Well, I wouldn't say happy, but I mean, Raquel Rodriguez, man, Aaliyah. I wasn't too happy about the way they lost, I guess you could say. But I mean, ultimately, I do feel like Io Sky and Dakota Kai were the team that was meant to have these titles, so it was kind of cool to see. But Raquel, man, she kind of impressed me. I mean, of course, she still comes out there as that dominant person, and it's crazy because like last week she was like the main focus on the tag team match. Her basically against Io Sky and Dakota Kai, basically just kind of dominating in a way until ultimately losing. But for Bayley to to get over on Raquel Rodriguez was very impressive, because I don't know. I mean, Raquel, she just looks like she's the person that's supposed or meant to win,
Yeah.
And Bayley, I mean, of course, she's a good superstar and everything like that. But I at the beginning of this match, I didn't think that she was ultimately going to get the W on this, But I can't really say too much. Bayley, I mean, of course, she's impressive and everything like that. And I want to say, what was it? The Rose Plant?
Yep.
Pretty awesome move right there. But, yeah, that's all I really have for this one.
Well, I guess we can go ahead and move on to another segment. Let me see what's next. Ronda Rousey joins Kayla Braxton for an exclusive interview. Doesn't really get very far, though. Liv Morgan actually crashes the interview, excuse me, and then she politely asks for a moment alone with Ronda Rousey, where she challenges her to an Extreme Rules match at Extreme Rules? Is that the pay-per-view that's coming up? Mm-hmm. Okay, Extreme Rules match. Ronda basically says, "Are you serious? Like, you really want to do this? Do you realize I will break you in half?" I'm paraphrasing here, but that's pretty much what she was saying. And she accepts. So we're going to get Extreme Rules for the SmackDown Women's Championship at Extreme Rules. We're not trying to get into predictions here. There really wasn't a whole lot more, that happened here in this specific interview. Liv Morgan seemed very calm, collected. She knew what she was going to say. She seems determined to win here. Like I said, we're not doing any predictions here, but I'm asking you, do you think Liv Morgan's going to beat Ronda Rousey at Extreme Rules, given these circumstances that it's almost like a built-in excuse? She could beat the hell out of her with a chair or a kendo stick or something like that, really put her down, no disqualification. This could be by fluke or something. Don't forget about Shayna Baszler. They've been showing them two talk backstage several times. And, I think something's going to happen here because they're not just going to have Liv pin her 1, 2, 3.
Right, yeah. I was about to say, I definitely don't know how this is going to go. I do want to see Liv ultimately get that third win over Ronda, because it just felt like she kind of just like buried her in this promo that they had right here. So, I mean, like you said, it felt like she was confident about what she wanted to do, what she wanted to say. So, man, it hurts me to say this because, well, I mean, we both talked about it, we don't feel like Liv's really in that credible position, to keep doing this, I guess you could say. So, I mean, yeah, it hurts me to say this, but I do want to see Liv go ahead and pull that one off.
You want to see her pull off the win?
The win, yeah.
And it hurts you to say it.
It hurts me to say it just because, like, you got to think about this. I mean, like you were saying, she's beat her twice, Extreme Rules, she's basically, like, digging her own grave in this situation, I guess you could say. Ronda, she is a freaking. I don't even know, man. She's a brutal person. I wouldn't want to do that match.
Liv
with
Morgan
those-
being so calm and challenging her to an Extreme Rules match, kind of for all my Mortal Kombat fans out there, had a little bit of a vibe to Johnny Cage challenging Goro to a fight.
Well-
Just doing it for Sonya, because
Yeah.
he, did all that. And he said, no, I got to fight Goro. And they're trying to talk him out of it. Doug drops down, does the splits, punches him in the nuts, runs away. He ends up getting the win.
See,
all I'm
I
saying
mean,
is that flukes happen.
There's ways that it can possibly be happen, but like I said, it's just one of those cringeworthy things. Like you want Liv to win, but you want her to be credible as well. That's the thing that's still sticking with me, I guess you could say.
Well, one thing that's sticking with me is that Solo versus Madcap Moss match for the North American Championship, NXT Championship. First time it's ever been defended on the main roster. Glad it happened on SmackDown. Glad that we got to see that match. It was actually physical as hell when you look at Solo and his fighting background and Madcap being a former football player. These are two physical specimens. You don't know how their styles are going to mesh together, because one of them is just kind of so green. I mean, they're both green. Neither one of them are very experienced. Madcap does have the time on him on the main roster, but it was really the backstage stuff. What'd you think about him telling Jey Uso, you stay back, you've already, you're off your game today, and he wants Sami Zayn to go. What'd you think about that?
See, this was like another one of those things that we were referring to just a while ago, like where Sami is the positive person in
MVP,
this. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we could say that Jay, he ultimately he made that match go south, I guess you could say. Sami Zayn
Earlier in the night, yes.
So I mean, I guess you could say that kind of rubbed Solo in a way, but Sami, man, it's just like he's the positive person in this faction to have around. It's like his distraction on the side of the ring, the way that he just like carries himself. I guess you could say that, but I think that he made a good decision on that part.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so you're saying Solo made the good decision bringing Sami, and that became evident as the match played on, given that Sami Zayn is the one who caused the distraction, which led Madcap into running directly into a super kick from Solo,
That was nice.
followed by a Uranagi, which allowed Solo to successfully retain his North American Championship here on SmackDown, and the Bloodline reigned supreme. What do you think about this? I mean, did you expect Madcap to have a chance here? Just, I guess, a puncher's chance. I mean, Solo just won this championship last week.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was hard to kind of like make this believable in my head, but then again, Madcap, top guy on my list, and it was just good, like especially whenever Madcap he gets his momentum going, like rope to rope and stuff like that. It's always good to see, but I didn't see him winning this, Solo, he just got this on NXT against Carmelo, so for this to happen, and then everybody holding the gold over here, it's like we're kind of like talking about this, like something expectation, but of course we were either saying like the United States title or something, but for him to get this title, bring it over here, it's just like it's falling in line, so it's all great to me.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, that visual of the Bloodline coming out with Paul Heyman kind of leading them, you got the tag team right there, you got the North American champion, and then you have Sami Zayn, who, if you know Sami Zayn, he's credible.
Yeah.
You know he's an asset to any group that he's in. That group with Roman Reigns at the helm, literally unstoppable, man. Like, it's such a good group, and I know people are tired of it. They want to see it dissolve, and they want to see Roman drop one of the belts, and the tag team belts get de-unified, I guess. Go back to having one on Raw, one on SmackDown. I get it, man. I understand both perspectives, but at the same time, we're here. We're in it. At this point, like this is history, whether you like it or not, whether you're over it or not. It's going to be a long time before we see something like this. We're going to talk about this 5-6 years from now. Hey, do you remember Roman Reigns' championship reign when it was almost 1,000 days, or when it was more than 1,000 days, whatever it was? It's going to be talked about, So I'm kind of just soaking it up. I'm living in the moment. I'm trying to smell the roses while we're here and just appreciate it, because, I mean, Roman Reigns is doing great work right now. I know that he's not around as much as he can, but still, his presence alone, whenever you see the dark vehicle with the tinted windows pull up and Roman Reigns is inside and the crowd absolutely pops. Like, he has it right now. The dude's on fire. It doesn't matter how often he's here. Sometimes less is more in that sense, and the less people see him, the louder they're going to get whenever they do see him, So They got something good going. I do know that the end is near, but right now, adding Solo, having the Sami Zayn dynamic with the Jey Uso button heads, like, at the same time, while you get that sense that it's getting old, they're adding these new things that make it feel fresh, you know? So I liked it. I really like the way that the Bloodline's going. I'm a fan of it. I personally don't mind it continuing on for a while, at least for the foreseeable future, until there is somebody just obvious staring you in the face. This is the guy. You know, once that happens, okay, we could talk about it. But right now, I don't know anybody who's worthy in terms of young talent. Clearly, there's people on the roster. Like, if Gunther wasn't the Intercontinental Champion, he'd be worthy. Drew McIntyre, the dude he just beat, very worthy. Seth Rollins, extremely worthy of being a champion. You know, there's other people as well. I know that your guy, Big E.
Okay. Kevin Owens.
Oh my gosh, you're exactly right. I don't know how the hell I missed him.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for you to spit that one out.
A healthy Big
I got
E.
you.
But, yeah, we'll see. Bobby Lashley, somebody, you know, he could definitely throw his name in the hat there. Mm-hmm. There's some worthy wrestlers, to say the least. But like I said, Solo does retain his championship here. Up next, we have a tag team #1 contenders fatal 4-way match between the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, the Brawling Brutes, Ridge Holland and Pete Dunne, a.k.a. Butch, Hit Row, Top Dollar, and...
Imperium?
No, who's the other one with Top Dollar?
Oh,
who's
Adonis.
his partner? Adonis? Okay, yeah,
sorry,
Adonis.
sorry.
I gotta remember his name for some reason, man. He just doesn't get enough attention. You know, they talk about Top Dollar all day on the commentary team. They talk about B-Fab. Adonis doesn't get enough attention, so that's on me. But definitely on the commentary team and WWE as a whole for not making him more of a focal point. But yes, Imperium, Vinci, or
Yeah, Giovanni.
Vinci.
Yeah.
Okay, another one. Gonna take a little bit, but Ludwig Kaiser got that one down. Yeah, we got a fatal 4-way match here. Pretty physical. The tag rules are very strange. You pointed it out. I don't know why in the hell in a fatal 4-way match where it's the first call or first fall, you know, one fall ends the match. Why in hell you would tag someone who's not on your team to come in the match? You know, it just makes absolutely no sense. But this match went on for a while. You know, we were kind of questioning whether or not it was the main event because it was over like 20 minutes long. They definitely had, like, you know, a couple commercial breaks through this thing. Slow-paced match that kind of drug out a little bit. Imperium hits the Imperium bomb on Kofi Kingston, but Ridge Holland kind of makes a sneaky tag there in the corner where they don't really know that he's the legal man.
That was slick, man.
He throws Ludwig over the top rope, out of the ring, and then he steals the win. So we get the Brawling Brutes, Butch and Ridge Holland, go up against the Usos for those championships. What are your thoughts on the Brawling Brutes advancing here?
Well, I wouldn't even say the Brawling Brutes. I want to just kind of focus on Butch, man. He's growing on me. You know, at first, whenever he was just like this little chihuahua that they were holding back and stuff like that, I was kind of like pushing him off to the side. But like now that I'm seeing him more like in the ring and stuff like that, and like the way he kind of like, you know, like breaks the finger or tries to break the finger or like stomping on elbows and stuff like that. It's starting to grow on me. So I'm starting to like the character that he's starting to become, I guess you could say. But man, I can't say that this is something that I don't want to see. You know, I guess Ridge Holland is the only like negative to like the whole faction, I guess you could say. But to see them advance and then possibly get that, you know, contenders match against the Usos is going to be pretty good. But I don't know, man. I just kind of felt like this was a good match, like kind of showcasing like all the superstars in like their own special way in a way. And man, I can't put nothing past Top Dollar, you know. Like I want to see that dude fly over that rope, you know. I want to see that happen.
I want to see him fly over the rope in a Royal Rumble match, getting eliminated.
Hey, either way, your way, my way, but I want to see him do that. I just want to see him jump over. But then again, that
you talking about like a suicide dive?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I want to see that. But whenever he had like I don't even know who it was, Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston.
Oh yeah, and he did like that kind of drop, and it
bomb,
looked like he landed on his head.
Yeah. I was gonna say that looked kind of uncomfortable, but then again, it seemed like it was actually pretty cool the way like it just all kind of, you know, dropped one and then slammed both the other two guys. So I was kind of okay with that, but I don't know, man. Kind of excited for this Brawling Brutes and Usos.
I'm excited for it as well. You know, Sheamus is going to have his fingers all over that. Probably going to handle a couple of the others. Maybe Sheamus might go one-on-one with Solo here pretty soon. I see that. Just them two kind of seem like they could put on a pretty good match together. Sheamus just like, man, time to beat the hell out of myself again. You know, just another day at the office. But speaking of another day at the office, that does do it for us here on the SmackDown Review. A nice quick show that happened here. Me and John watched it together. We typically do not watch it together. We usually record after we watch it separately. So it was different, but it was fun. He got a chance to see kind of how I do things over here, and it's just nice to see, you know, somebody the way somebody else does it. You know, it's nice to kind of see the styles kind of blend. But one thing I did want to point out before we close out the show, shout out to Miller from South Africa. I definitely wanted to give him, you know, his credit for giving us a shout out on the mailbag. You know, we definitely appreciate that. All the kind words definitely means a lot, and you guys are literally why we do this. You know, the listeners are why we continue to do it. The feedback means a lot to us. We love whenever people reach out to us. Shout out to DJ Kuzmo making his return this week. Definitely missed him. His presence was definitely missed, and his absence was felt. So getting him back in the swing of things, I feel like that's definitely going to up the spirits of the WWE podcast here, just all around. But yeah, I like the vibe going on right now, heading into the fall. Football function obviously taking off right now because of the football season. You love to see that. But other than that, man, I'm excited for a good weekend here. Until the next time that we are breaking down SmackDown, starting a whole nother 101. So here we go, starting all over. But yeah, the floor is yours, bud.
Yeah, man, I definitely want to, you know, give a shout out to Miller. I mean, it was good to hear him on the mailbag and everything like that. And also, man, DJ Kuzma, I know you're going to be hearing this. It is great to hear you, bud. Hopefully the recovery is still going good for you and everything like that. But yeah, this morning, whenever I was listening to that mailbag, man, I heard the little jingle or tune that you had playing and stuff like that.
His little intro,
His little mix, I was kind of like, oh, here we go, you know. So that's kind of like what started my day, you know. I was already looking forward to watching the show and then coming over here to the studio, Funky Town, and recording, man. So yeah, it was definitely like a good way to start the day. So yeah, definitely hearing your voice this morning was a positive note for me. But yeah, definitely want to give a shout out to everybody else, man. Definitely contribute. I mean, it's good to get these interactions. I know it's not even if it's like a personal one to us or anything like that, but like the returners or the returners, I guess you could say. Even Matt kind of mentioned it, that like all of a sudden, like
Jeff
all
from the Philippines was back today.
Like all the old listeners like kind of like tuned in this week, and I was kind of like, okay, like maybe y'all just running like a little pack, I guess you could say, you know. But I mean, I'm just messing around. But it was pretty cool to hear everybody and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely want to close it out like that, man. And also just throwing the football function. It's good. It's juicy over here, man. It's making the week.
It's not
great.
your typical just sports show. That's number one. You know,
I mean, y'all definitely helped me out with my like fantasy and stuff like that. So I mean, it's cool. You know, I mean,
and shout out to the Fantasy Football League for the WWE podcast. There's only 12 of us in there over there. It is fun. I got my butt kicked by Randy the Patriot week one. And, you know, week one you kind of get to fill it out. You know, you kind of got to let your team. You got to figure out what you're doing.
Cutting players already.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily there yet. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm excited for my match this week. Against You Can't See Me. I believe that's Dr. BGB from the, or is it DGB? Dr. DGB or BDG? I'm thrown off now. I done said too many that now I'm screwed. But
yeah, you can't think me.
I know who I'm playing though. Yeah. I know who I'm playing. So shout out to you and good luck. Definitely hope, you know, may the best team win, obviously. But with all that being said, guys, I do appreciate you listening. If you're a first time listener somehow, I appreciate you stumbling onto this podcast. You definitely were going to want to stick around. There's a lot more where this came from, a lot of different hosts bringing wrestling content to you, different perspectives. This is really your one-stop shop for everything wrestling that you really enjoy. And I couldn't be happier to be a small part of it. But for all you regular listeners, thank you so much for coming back, making this part of your weekly routine. We can't thank you enough. We hope that you will continue to come back as we continue to break down these SmackDowns every single week. It's something that we look forward to doing. And it really is fun. But with all that being said, guys, I hope you all have a damn good weekend. Do whatever it is that you feel like you haven't done, that you haven't gotten to do yet. Like, if, you know, summer's winding down. Depends on where you live. Weather might get a little bit colder here pretty soon, so your options are going to be a little bit limited. But the options are different then. You know, I love the fall. Fall is one of my favorite times of the entire year for obvious reasons, for various reasons. I absolutely love it, especially October. We already had this conversation. one of the best months of the entire year, but we're not going to get into that. Like I said, have a damn good weekend. Walk passionately in the direction of your dreams, and I will talk to you soon.
Go Raiders.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.